Hi everyone. By request, I'm going to make a short video on how to import your own data, type your own data into SPSS, and then create a graph. So this is the data set that I'm going to use. I actually retrieved this from the Center for Disease Control, and you can see the reference down here at the bottom. So I'm only taking a very short list of data with two variables. One is going to be the year, and the second is going to be the number of tuberculosis cases in that year. So the first thing we're going to do is to load up our SPSS. This will take just a minute to boot. And we don't want to start by double clicking on an existing data source. So you notice there's kind of two different things here: open an existing data source or open another type of file. But we don't want either one of those options. We want to select this button over here on the right that says type in data and say OK. This takes us to a blank window. Now we can switch back and forth between the variable view and the data view, and you see that they're both blank. We want to start in the variable view window, so make sure this one is clicked, and then type in the name of the variable. So our first variable is going to be the year. And then the other thing I want to go over is make sure that I select the right type of variable. So this is going to be a scale variable. It's going to have numbers. You could use an ordinal if you wish. I'm just going to leave it as a scale. You can set some of these other values if you want, or the missing ones, or the width. For a year, we're going to have 0 decimal place kind of accuracy and so forth. But really the most important thing is that this is a numeric variable with 0 decimal points, and therefore it's going to be measured as a scale. The other one we're going to do then is the tuberculosis cases. We'll just call it cases. And again, I'll make sure I set this as a scale variable. And for this one, again, I want 0 decimal points because you can't have a half of a tuberculosis case. So that's just kind of setting up what style of variables. You could have a categorical or nominal data, in which case you would change these options over here on the right. Now I'm going to go into the data view, and you see that we have our two variables, years and cases, set up. So now I'm going to be just typing in these data into the appropriate columns as we go along. So I'm going to try to shrink this down just a little bit lower on the screen so we can see maybe part of the data set, as well as the SPSS window at the same time. Let me adjust this just a little bit more. Alright, so hopefully that helps you a little bit. Okay, so for our years, we're going to go 2001. And then I'll just press the down arrow key to enter the next number and go through and just enter all the years this way. Alright, and then we're going to do the same thing for the number of cases in each one of these years. So I'll slide this over so that I can see the numbers as I'm typing them into my SPSS window. And we'll enter the number of cases that go. You don't need the commas, so we'll just put 16,309, 15055, 14,835, 14,499, 14,068, 13,727, 13,278, 12,895, 11,528, 11,171, and 10,528. So hopefully I got all of those correct. So now we've entered our data. Now at this point, everything should work exactly the same way that it did in the past when we were preloading using preloaded data sets. That is, we have access to all the same windows up here at the top of our SPSS window. So for these particular data, the kind of graph that I'm going to try to do is a line graph. Line graphs are really good for showing trends, and especially when you have a time variable along the horizontal axis, which for me will be year, and then we can plot the change in the number of cases in tuberculosis as time goes along. So when you have paired data of these kind, this is two different variables that I'll be graphing against each other, as opposed to graphing a single variable where I might use a bar graph or a histogram or a pie chart. So graphing two variables against each other with the horizontal axis being time, where I'm specifically looking at trends. This is an example where I might want to use a line graph. So let's go to graphs and our chart builder. I'll go down and find the line graph, It's just going to be a single line graph, not a multiple one. So I'll drag the line graph up into my gallery. I'm going to put the year along the horizontal axis, and I'm going to put the number of cases along the vertical axis. Now again, you can add titles and footnotes. For the sake of time, I'm not going to do that in this particular video. You can edit the properties just as you did before. So when you have everything set up exactly the way you want, you just press OK, and you will get your output into SPSS. So here is my line graph with years across the bottom and the number of cases, and you can see a fairly steady decline in the cases of tuberculosis. So once again, you can double click this to edit it if you want to change colors or styles or the ranges on some of the axes. And when you're all done, you got the graph exactly how you want it. If you right click on it and do copy special, export this as a JPEG, so click the JPEG and click OK. Then when you go into your Word document, all you have to do is hit Control-V for a paste option, and now you've pasted your graph from SPSS into a Word document. Okay, so I hope this has been helpful. What we've done is created our own data set. In this case, I borrowed it from the Center for Disease Control. We've loaded SPSS and typed those data into SPSS, and then used our original data set in SPSS to create a graph and exported it into a Word document. See you next time.